I'm Lady Muirenn ingen Faelchon of Clerigh. Yes.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Yes. It's an Irish name. It's not spelled the way it's pronounced, of course. As I was doing research for my persona, I'm late 7th century Irish. I discovered there was a lot of intrigue and a murder around the pursuit of the high throne of Ireland. And so I decided to write a story about it and insert myself into the story, of course. So here it is. My parents sent me to live with my father's cousin, Ken Faelchon MacBlathman, when I was 3 years old, to be his apprentice. He was a Feely, the highest level of bard in Irish society. He taught me the Bardic arts, to play the lyre, to mesmerize my audience with the lilt and timbre of my voice. But more importantly, he taught me what honor truly meant. He said to me, in order to have honor, you must learn 2 things: loyalty to your family and your clan, and to be a keeper of your oath. Your family and your clan are your blood and your heritage. You are the living embodiment of all those who came before you in your bloodline. But you must also keep your oath. Your oath is a solemn promise and sacred trust to do what you have sworn. Your first oath should always be to your family and your clan. Your oath is not to be taken lightly. This is why our laws have penalties for being an oathbreaker. You must keep your oath above all, for by your oath you will be known, and by your oath you can be undone. Be careful what you swear. I was 8 years old the first time he said this to me. I didn't understand how I could be both known and undone by my oath. It didn't make sense until I was much older. He repeated these words to me many times during the years of my apprenticeship. By your oath, you will be known, and by your oath, you can be undone. 9 years after my apprenticeship ended, Ken Faelchon's brother, Secnasach, the High King of Ireland, asked Ken Faelchon to lay down his lyre and take up his sword in defense of our kingdom. Rival kings were moving against Secnasach, and he needed all able-bodied fighters loyal to him from across the land to come to his aid. Ken Faelchon and I had remained close, even after my apprenticeship ended. I was heartsick when he called me to his home and told me what his brother had asked of him. I wept that he would be laying down the lyre he loved so much. I cried the tears he wouldn't let fall. I knew he was a man of peace, but I also remembered his words to me all those years before. You must remain loyal to your family and your clan, for by your oath you will be known, and by your oath you can be undone. He polished his sword and shield as I packed away his lyre, bells, pipes, and his book of stories. I mourned the loss of one of the greatest Feelies our land had ever known. He saw me looking wistfully at the tools of his art, and he said, "Do not mourn for what is past. Remember what I've always said, loyalty to your family always." He paused and seemed to be far away for a moment. By your oath, you will be known, and by your oath, you can be undone. He slowly turned to look at me. I am undone as a Feely. I cannot be both a Feely and a warrior. The laws of our land will not allow it. But I will be loyal to my brother and our family. He cupped my chin and made me meet his eyes. There is no reason to be sad when we are doing our duty to our bloodline and our clan. Ken Faelchon fought with honor and distinguished himself in battle. He proved as skilled with the sword as he had been with the lyre. 3 years later, his brother Secnasach fell ill and died suddenly. and Ken Follett ascended the high throne of Ireland. I was so proud of the man who had been like a father to me. Kneeling before him to swear fealty was one of the happiest moments of my life. During the feast after his coronation, I was able to entertain his court with the histories of the high kings, which he has taught me. I was privileged to compose a new verse for my kinsman king, Ken Follett MacBlathma, who wanted to bring peace to the clans of Ireland and unite the kingdom. And for a few years, we did live in peace. One day, a runner came from a neighboring community with the terrible news. Ken Follett was dead. He had been ambushed when he was touring one of the communities in the Western Hills. He'd been set upon and murdered by his traitorous cousin, Finsneda Fleda Macduada, who had assumed the high throne. A short time later, a royal messenger came to my door. The new High King was requesting the presence of all the nobles to reaffirm their oath to the High King of Ireland. The traitorous snake. He knows my loyalty was to Ken Follett. He knows I will not swear fealty to my kinsman king's murderer. Then my memory of Ken Follett's coronation returned to me like a lightning flash. When I had knelt before him that day to swear fealty, I had sworn allegiance to the high throne, not the High King. My heart clenched and I couldn't breathe. What had I done? I was bound by oath to my kinsman king's murderer, who now sat on his throne. I wanted to tear his heart out and feed it to the wolves for his treachery. And he wanted me to swear fealty to him. I was brought back to the present when I realized the royal messenger was looking at me expectantly, waiting for my response. I couldn't refuse the High King, traitor though he was, without risking exile. I couldn't leave my homeland. So I formulated a plan. As I packed my bag, I wrapped my dagger and stowed it in the folds of my tunic. I would kill the traitor who murdered my kinsman king. As I journeyed to the royal court, I had time to think on everything Ken Follett had taught me. He was a feely, a poet, and a storyteller who had only taken up the sword to defend his brother, the former High King. He'd been a man of peace. He wanted to calm the fighting of the clans and unite the kingdom. How could I dishonor him by committing murder, no matter how justified? But how could I allow his murderer to sit on the high throne? How could I allow Ken Follett's blood to go unavenged? I was torn between my loyalty to my kinsman king and my oath of allegiance to the high throne. When I arrived at the traitor king's castle, I was escorted to a private room and told to change into my finery, where the new king would be holding court shortly. A short time later, I entered the throne room of the treacherous snake, never taking my eyes from Finsneda. I approached his throne defiantly. We locked eyes. He knew from my eyes what I wanted to do to him. He smiled a snaky, arrogant smile. As I knelt before the murderous traitor, feeling the hidden dagger at my side and watching him smirking down at me, I finally understood what Ken Follett meant as his words reverberated through my heart. By your oath, you will be known, and by your oath, you can be undone.